In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My lovely students, I hope you all are doing well at your home and you are safe and sound with your family members. I welcome you once again in Pakistan International School Taif's virtual learning class for grade 10th. And this is class of biology. Dear students, we are on chapter number 11. We have just started that chapter number 11, that is homeostasis. And in this chapter, in the previous lecture, we have just studied about homeostasis in plants. This is the sequel of that topic or of that homeostasis in plants, and very, very important topic today we will study osmotic adjustment in plants. And then we will start homeostasis in humans also. So let's get started. Today we will see osmotic adjustment in plants. Dear students, yesterday or in the previous lecture we have studied about osmotic and homeostasis in plants, and in that we have seen that how plants adjust the amount of water as well as how they adjust exchange of gases and how they remove some metabolic waste from their body, because they are also living organisms and they have to perform all these functions for their survival. Today we will see osmotic adjustment in plants. That is quite different topic. How different topic? Because there are different type of plants which are present in different habitats and different environments in an ecosystem. So whether they are having lots of water or they are in need of more water, like they are in like such type of desert condition, so how they will adjust their water contents, but we'll compare that water content according to their solute concentration. Now we will see some of the different type of habitats in which the plants just do their osmotic regulation. In that, first of all, we will revise what is osmosis. You have already studied about osmosis, like it is the movement of water from hypotonic solution, means from less solute concentration, to hypertonic solution, like higher solute concentration, through semi-permeable membrane. And I know that this is on your fingertips, that what is hypotonic and what is hypertonic solution. Yes, hypo means less and hyper means more amount of solute. So how the plants maintain these two types of conditions, because we will talk about in just a few minutes. So if we see osmotic adjustment or osmotic process, so we can say that water molecules will move from lower concentration of solute to higher concentration of solute. Although this is water's higher concentration, where the solute is less, so water is higher. And where the solute is more, so water is less. So to compensate this problem, to compensate this situation, in the plant, the water molecules move from lower solute concentration to higher concentration of solute to make it isotonic, and this is very important for its survival. So now we will see how the plants do this process, osmotic adjustment. if we just talk about this osmotic adjustment in plants, so we see that there are three types of plants according to their habitat and according to the basis of water and salt availability, whether they are in more water, whether they are in dry places where there is scarcity of water or there is less water or no water, and whether they are present in saline water like in oceans and in coastal areas. So we'll talk about one by one about all these situations. First of all, we'll see hydrophytes, then we'll see xerophyte plants, and then we'll see halophytes. What are these and how they have adaptation in their body to just cope up this situation. So now, first we will talk about hydrophytes. Actually, that is the combination of two Greek words. Hydra means water and photon means plant. So whereas a phyton or phyte comes, it means they are plants. And hydro, we know that it means water. So these are the plants which live in the water. So conditions can be different. They are water dependent plants and they are found in aquatic or wet places, but they can be floating plants. They can be partially or fully submerged in the water. So there are different availabilities for them. You can see here some examples: duckweed, and a very, very small plant indeed, and that is floating plant, and that is submerged plant, like the roots are submerged and stick with the soil. So that is water lily or lotus. Then we will see that how do adaptations of hydrophytes occur. So like hydrophytes are those plants which live all the time in water. Like their whole life is just just pass on in the water. So what type of adaptations they are having in their body? So number one, very important, they are having flat leaves. Flat or broad leaves have large number of stomata on their upper surface. Because their leaves, you can see here, these type of leaves, these are plate-like leaves, very fascinating, very beautiful indeed. That is Victoria lotus, bonsai giant. And this is lotus or water lily. You can see here, their leaves are too broad. Here you can see their leaves are too broad, and here also all the leaves are broad and flat due to the reason because they are having in broad leaves their stomata on the upper surface, as well as these broad leaves help them to float on the water surface. And they are having more stomata on the upper epidermis of the leaves. As we know that in other plants, the stomata are present under the leaves, but we know that under the leaf they are attached with the water, so there are stomata, but there are very less stomata, so water is absorbed through them. And when there are lots of stomata on the upper surface, so there is more evaporation of water from here. So water which is absorbed by the roots and these leaves, that is evaporated at its like proper amount. So water content can be adjusted here. Then we'll see some other adaptations, like they are having small roots. If you see in this picture here they are having very small roots. And these roots are feathery, like lots of root. Here we can say are these are feathery, lots of roots are there, so that they take oxygen from the water. Like more roots means they increase the surface area for absorption of the oxygen from the water. Then if we see the next adaptation, very important as well, that is stem. So in some The stems are elongated, you can see in the water lily, and in some stem short, you can see here in Acornia and Piscia. So they are, their stems are uh, just on the water, and they are totally floating plants. So they are free floating hydrophytes because their roots are not adjusted into the soil, but here rooted but floating hydrophytes. They are these two long a stem that that is called petiole, by which the leaf and that flower is attached. That is also called petiole. So they are just hanging in the water. So they that help to the plants to just stay on the water, water and just float on the surface of the water. The very best example is water lily. The next very important, very fascinating group of those plants, other plants, that is xerophytes. So xerophyte means these are also the combination of Greek words. Xeros means dry and photon means plant. So it means they live in very dry environment. What do you mean by dry environment? That they have to survive in very less amount of water. What type of weather it is there? Like very little liquid water is there. For example, lots of plants which are present in the desert, and lots of which are present in ice or snow covered regions like Alps, alpines, plants, as well as which are in Arctic. You see their leaves are, you can see they are like this conical shape. That's why they are called conifers as well. So their leaves are needle like. So that is the adaptation we'll talk about in a few minutes. So some common examples are cacti, pineapple. Cacti is the plural of cactus, and some gymnosperms plants. Gymnosperms means the plants which do not bear flowers, no flowers, but they produce seeds but without flowers. So you can see pineapple plant and some cactus or like aloe vera like plants. So there are some adaptations for the xerophytic plants. What are these? Number one, very important, a thick cuticle. That a thick cuticle, you can take example of this aloe vera. Yes, it is having very thick cuticle like this. You can see here. That what is the function of thick cuticle? That stops uncontrolled evaporation. Thick cuticle means that is waxy, so it does not allow more um, evaporation of uh, water from the stems and the leaves. Small leaf surface area. Leaves are reduced in their structure. You can see here, these are in the spines form. These are not leaves, these are stems. These are the leaves in the spines forms, and the less surface area for evaporation, like coniferous, like cactus, like spines. You can see here in the cactus as well, there are spines, so these are the leaves. So they are having spines instead of leaves. So small surface area minimizes the evaporation as well. Number two, low stomata density. Number three, low stomata density, like smaller surface for diffusion. Like stomata are very less in numbers, so that there is less evaporation from the leaves and stems. The next one is sunken stomata. Like stomata are very deep inside the leaves, inside the stems. They are not present up or under the surface of epidermis, upper and lower epidermis, but they are penetrated deep inside the stem and leaves. We'll talk about in the next slide, inshallah. Then it's very important function that it maintains humid air around the stomata, because when the stomata is up on the lower epidermis or upper epidermis. So what happened when the warm wind blows from there? So it just sucks up more water and there is more evaporation, and the plant can die even due to dehydration. But in sunken stomata, that a pit is there in which there is stomata in the leaf, and like there are certain other structures along this one, so that they can protect the air. They can just cover the stomata with inside insulated air, so that when the air or wind blows through here, it will move from here only, and the air traps inside. It does not allow to evaporate more water from stomata. Best example, marram grass or cacti. Marram grass is the grass which grown up in like this in the desert. Then with this stomata, there are lots of hair present. These are called trichores. And these trichores, these stomata also maintain the humid air around the stomata. The air inside is humid, and the dry air which passes out from here, so it will not evaporate this air because it passes from the hole, don't move inside. Then rolled leaves, some are having spines and some are having needle-like leaves like this, and some are having rolled leaves like very thin and rolling like this, and that maintains the humid air around the stomata. The same example, marram grass. Extensive roots. The roots are too many and they are very strong and just deeply penetrated into the ground to to ensure more uptake of water from the ground. They are very deep inside. You can take example of date plant that is very much in this in KSA. So that is like they are having the date plants are having long roots because they could search out the water for their survival. So example is cacti or some other desert plants. And here you can see stems that can store water. So you can see here, this is the best example. Aloe vera, it can store water, but it is in the form of gel-like substance because it is thick, so there will be less evaporation from the water. And as well as widespread roots are there, which can have the availability of more water. If you see here in this diagram, so we can see that is nerium leaf, and you can see here stomatal hair. This is lower epidermis, this is upper epidermis. Here is thick cuticle, and also it is having hypoepidermis, other layers of epidermis to make this epidermis more thick, so that there must not be evaporation. Then we have palisade mesophyll, spongy mesophyll tissues. Then this is stomatal chamber, this one. And this pit or this stomatal chamber is having this stomata. These are called sunken stomata, like they are deep inside this chamber, and there are hair around it just protect these stomata to reduce evaporation. This is lower epidermis. This is also thick, but here there is a pit inside where there is deep inside there are some stomata. Okay, we are doing the next group of the plant, that is halophyte. They are having very different adaptations because they live in salt tolerant environment, salty environment, salty like in the marshes, in the mangrove swamps, like the forest, the plants which grow in near coastal areas. You can see here in the background there is a picture of those plants which live in the marshes. Water is like coastal areas where always there is salty water present, and here you can also see some mangrove forest at the back, and there's a mangrove tree which is totally in the water, but that is halophyte because the water is salty. That is marshes area, wetlands, where the water always present in salt. Sorry, plants are always present in salty water. So due to high salinity, they are having some adaptations. So number one, salt tolerance. They can tolerate like maximum amount of salt in their tissues. They can store water in special tissues, and these tissues are having lots of air spaces. For example, these are leaves. So they are having like this, the cells, they are having some spaces inside it, and these the spaces are not less, they are here the spaces are more spaces, air spaces, and in these air spaces they can have more gases, as well as they can store water inside the tissues, and they are having certain special tissues which can store more water. Some can excrete salt through special glands. There are salt glands are present in their leaves, in their stems. These are called salt glands, and these salt glands just releases salts when there is too much accumulation of the salts on their leaves or in their surfaces. And sometimes what happened when there is too much salt in their bodies, so they accumulate in the leaves, and then the leaves gets yellowish color, and by the accumulation of the salts, and then the leaves drop, leaves fall from the trees, and they get rid of more salts, excessive salt. So many are succulent, also succulent like this, succulent organs or succulent plants are those like which are having such type of spaces, such type of special tissues in which they can retain water. They can retain water in more quantity, like such type of succulent organs we are having in xerophytic plants. Like aloe vera, you have seen the picture that it is like absorb more water, and then it is change into gel-like structure. So they also uh, having succulent organs like tissues which can absorb more water and retain more water, and that water is used to accommodate the problem of more salt in their tissues. There is another mechanism that how they can, that is mechanism in the cells as well. So what they do, when salt enters into the cell, because they absorb salt from the roots. So when the salt enters into the cells of the roots, into the xylem, and then move into the different cells of the body, plants carry out active transport to move and hold large amount of salts in the vacuoles. By active transport, we know expenditure of energy is done in that process, and because uh, like outside is more concentration, in the cytosol there is less, and then when it is accumulated here in the cytosol, then directly move into the vacuole. That's why the vacuoles are too large in the cells of the plant, and that this vacuole holds the salts in their body. Salts are not allowed to move out through semi-permeable membranes of vacuoles, so the sap of vacuoles remain even more hypertonic than the sea. So what happens, so when the salt just comes into the vacuole, so now concentration gradient is maintained. So now in the vacuole or in the plant cell, more salt is there. So due to that more salt, now inside hypertonic conditions is there rather than outside. So water will come inside, not the salt will come inside. So So the sap of vacuoles remain even more hypertonic than the seawater. In this way, this water does not move out of the cell, so it will retain inside the body. So many sea grasses are the example, or like the mangrove trees are the examples which live in salty water. So here the ions or the salts are going out less, but they come more inside it. So what happened, it is accumulated into this vacuole. This is a compartmentalization in vacuole. So then water will retain inside the cell, it will not move out of the cell. So like that they just adapt their body conditions according to their environment. Dear student, the next of this topic will start the new one, that is homeostasis in humans. Homeostasis we have studied before, that homeo means the same, status means stable. So body's ability to maintain a relatively stable internal environment, like this balance, it has to be maintained in our body as well. It does not like up and down, otherwise the body gets sick. So when we talk about homeostasis in humans, so because humans are highly developed, has highly developed systems for homeostasis, so many organs perform functions regarding homeostasis. A few we will discuss here. Very important one, lungs, then we will discuss skin and kidneys, all in brief, because lungs we have studied in respiration in chapter number 10, so we will not see this in detail. And just skin also we will see, and kidney we will see in brief here, but there is another topic in the next lecture, we will study kidneys in detail. So if we talk about very important, the lungs. So lungs are present, we know, in the chest cavity under the rib cage, and they help to remove the excess carbon dioxide and keep it in the balance. Um, when because we have seen that our breathing center in the brain that functions according, that is very sensitive to the concentration of carbon dioxide. So when carbon dioxide in our body increases, it just gives messages to our brain, then that all the function is done, and carbon dioxide is excreted out, then we inhale oxygen. So that is very important, like this by respiration process and by the organs, lungs, we can maintain our that oxygen and carbon dioxide, just keep them in the balance, like we can do in exercise. When we do exercise, so we breathe in so quickly and our heart beats too much faster to just to give oxygen to whole of the body and to remove carbon dioxide into the environment. So next we will see skin. Skin is also the very largest organ, or we can say the largest tissue of the body. And first we'll see its structure, that it is having two main layers, although it is divided into three layers, epidermis, dermis and hypodermis, but here two main layers we'll discuss here. The outer layer is very thin, you can see here, and just that is for the protection purpose, that gives protective layer to our body to protect the organs, internal organs and systems of the body, and that is without blood vessels, nothing is there, you can see here. Okay, the next one, dermis. Dermis is the very important layer, and it is very thick layer, and that is the inner layer which is having blood vessels. You can see artery and veins are there. There are muscles, these are called erector pili muscles. We will discuss it in the next slide inshallah. And then we are having hair follicles and hair which is protruding from there. We are having sebaceous glands which releases oil in the skin. We are having hair shaft from which this is hair shaft, like the layer of the hair, the thin hair, hair follicle through which the hair grows, and we are having very important sweat glands by which the sweat is released into onto our skin. And there are the functions of these things. What is the function of the skin? Actually, it regulates the body temperature, very important one. When we are in the summer, so what happened? We sweat from the skin, so our body's releases the body temperature, and it gets normal. When you are in cold, so what happened? Shiver, and due to that our muscles shiver, and due to that that skin traps the heat inside the body, and our body gets warmer. Thin layer of fat cells, next function, a thin layer of fat cell is also present. If you can see this picture, this is a fat cell. Some like heavy fat is present, um, and in some skin, like if they're slim and smart, so a thin layer is present. But fat is very important indeed to insulate the body from the regulate fluctuation of the temperature. Like in cold, it is very important. It keeps the body insulated. And it, like when it just it makes our body warmer. Then we are having contraction of muscles which forms goosebumps, and these goosebumps help to regulate the temperature in our body. Then we will see here what are goosebumps and why they are important. Actually, goosebumps, goose are is a bird, duck-like bird. uh, when it is born, it does not having any type of feathers, so there is having dotted like structures, we are having on our body these dotted like structures, and these dotted like structures act as bumps, and from hair feathers originate. So like that in our body, when our hairs are raised, these type of, you can see here, these uh, like a skin portion gets raised. These are called goosebumps, and that are due to the rise of these hairs. And they also help to reduce heat loss, which help the body warm up when it's cold. When it's cold, what happened? uh, just we shiver just a little, even when we take bath, after taking the bath. So what happened? These are called erector pili muscles, and look, when they contract, what happened? These hair follicles raised, look, they just move upward, and the hair directions gets straight, and due to that straight conditions, our hair are raised. And look, you can see from here, this makes the layer like a blanket, insulation blanket, which traps the air inside, warm air inside, and we just maintain our body temperature. We don't get cold then. So they're very, very helpful for regulation of the temperature. Then we'll see importance of sweating, that is in summer, definitely goosebumps in winter. So it creates cooling effect by producing sweat. When what happened, these evaporation in, or transpiration or evaporation in plants, like when our body gets sweat, it producing sweating. So what happened, with the sweat, our temperature gets lost, and due to that, then our body temperature gets reduced, and we can maintain our body temperature. Removal of metabolic waste also is done through this sweating, like excess water, and with water we are having salts and some urea, uric acid as well. By sweating, it is also released when there is excess in the body, and that is very, very helpful for not only to regulating the temperature, but also for regulating and removing all the this type of stuff. You can see here These are erectile muscles, and we are having these sweat glands. Different type of sweat glands are there, and by that sweat is produced here. You can see here, and sweating is produced by sweating, like it releases the water from the body and some salts. So this is like erectile muscles by which we are having goosebumps. So due to that, our body releases its temperature. So next we'll talk about kidneys, but we'll just take a brief look, because in the next lecture we are gonna see it in detail. So kidneys are present on both of the sides of a vertebral column, at the back of our uh, vertebral column, and we are having this type of function like filtration of excess water, salts, urea, uric acid, etc. from the blood. And like blood comes inside, like it moves, when it moves from the kidneys, so all this type of stuff is filtered there, and kidneys make urine and release urine into these ureters, then into bladder, and we just remove urine outside of our body. And this not only regulate the temperature but regulate the metabolic waste in our body. This is very, very important one. Because if it is not working properly, what type of problems can the person has, we will discuss in disorders as well. So dear students, that's it for today. And I hope that you have enjoyed and understood the lecture and this lesson. You got lots of information, and I hope you will keep that in your mind and learn it properly, and keep your body in homeostasis, like this, a perfect balance. Wish you all the best. Inshallah, see you in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.